The day Emily Carter was buried, the sky refused to rain. Gray clouds hung heavy, full of water, but not a single drop fell. Daniel stood under the oak tree by her grave, his black umbrella useless against the still air. He'd been silent through the entire service, not a tear, not a word, just a hollow stare at the white coffin that held the woman he thought he'd spend the rest of his life with. They'd been married for 6 years. They'd built a life together, a house, plans, dreams, and then, out of nowhere, cancer took her away in less than 3 months. He'd held her hand through the hospital nights, watched her smile fade into exhaustion, and on the morning she passed, she'd looked at him and whispered, "Promise me you'll read what I send you when the time comes." He thought she meant the letter she kept beside her bed. He didn't know what she really meant. 3 days after the funeral, Daniel sat alone in their quiet house. Her perfume still lingered on the pillow. Her slippers were still by the bed. He couldn't bring himself to move anything. He was halfway through deleting old voicemails when his phone buzzed. One new message. The sender's name froze him.
Emily Carter. His heart jumped into his throat. His hands began to shake. He opened the message. It read, "Hi, love. If you're reading this, then I'm already gone. But there's something you need to know. Go to the cabin tonight. Don't go alone." He sat in stunned silence, eyes fixed on the screen. The message wasn't old. It had just arrived. Timestamp, 7:13 p.m. It didn't make sense. Her number was still active, but she'd been gone for a week. He checked the date, the network, the signal, all normal. Daniel's mind raced. Maybe someone was playing a cruel joke. Maybe someone had her phone. But Emily's phone had been placed inside her casket. He'd seen it himself. For hours, he paced the living room debating whether to ignore the message. But something deep inside told him he couldn't. By midnight, he was in his car, headlights slicing through the fog as he drove toward their lake cabin, the place they'd built together when they first got married. He hadn't been there since before her diagnosis. When he arrived, the house looked untouched, quiet, still. He unlocked the door, flicked on the light, and froze. On the kitchen table sat a small box wrapped in brown paper, with his name written in Emily's handwriting. He hesitated before opening it. Inside was a flash drive and a single piece of paper. On the paper, written in her careful, familiar hand, were just 2 words: "Press play."
Daniel buried his face in his hands. The pain hit like a tidal wave. But then she continued, "I know you'll hate me at first, but please, finish watching this before you decide what to do. Because there's something else. Something I didn't know until after that trip." She looked down, trembling. "Ryan found out he had leukemia. He didn't make it, but before he died, he asked to send you something. Through me." She reached off camera and held up a sealed white envelope. "Inside this envelope is a letter from him and a birth certificate. Daniel, there's a little boy. His name is Oliver. He's not yours by blood, but I named you as his guardian because he deserves someone good, someone like you." The video ended. Daniel sat in silence for what felt like hours. Shock, pain, anger, all swirling into something deeper. He opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letter, handwritten in a man's unfamiliar scrawl. "Daniel, I know you don't know me, but Emily did. She told me everything about you, how kind you were, how patient, how you loved her without limits. When I realized I was dying, I asked her to make sure Oliver had someone strong to look after him. She chose you. If you're reading this, thank you for being the kind of man who could love another man's son. I'm sorry for what I took from you. I hope, in time, this gives something back. At the bottom of the letter was a photo. A small boy, no more than 4 years old, with Emily's green eyes.
That night, Daniel drove to the address written at the end of the note, a foster home on the edge of town. He didn't know what he was going to say or do, he just knew he had to go. When the caretaker opened the door, she smiled softly. "You must be Daniel," she said. "We were told to expect you." In the playroom, a little boy looked up from his toy truck. Daniel froze. The boy had Emily's eyes, the same tiny dimple in his chin. "Hi," the boy said shyly. Daniel swallowed hard. "Hi, buddy." The boy tilted his head. "Mom said you'd come." That broke him. Right there in the middle of that small, quiet room, Daniel knelt and pulled the boy into his arms. He didn't understand how Emily had arranged it all, the letters, the recordings, the timing of the message, but he knew one thing for certain. She hadn't left him with pain. She'd left him with purpose. Years passed. Oliver grew up calling Daniel Dad, and every year on Emily's birthday, they'd drive to the cabin by the lake, light a candle, and play her video again. Oliver would ask, "Why did Emily send that message?" And Daniel would smile softly and say, "Because she wanted to remind us that love doesn't end when a heartbeat stops. Sometimes it finds another way to speak." The message she sent after her funeral didn't destroy Daniel's world. It rebuilt it. One word, one truth, one small heartbeat at a time. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more cinematic stories that touch your soul. Sometimes, the hardest goodbyes bring us the messages we need most.